Welcome to Legends of Grayskull, the podcast that dives deep into the mythology of Masters of the Universe, with your hosts Matthew Dooch and Shawn Scavarna. News, reviews, remasterings and more are just ahead on Legends of Grayskull.
Hello everybody, welcome to episode 75 of Legends of Grayskull, the fan podcast where we discuss the history, the mystery, the magic, and mythology of He-Man, She-Ra, Eternia, Etheria, Nordor, Primus, New Adventures, Old Adventures, Ladybird, UK Annuals, comics, mini-comics, anything and everything you can think of that He-Man, She-Ra, Masters of the Universe, Princess of Power, that Mattel logo down in the corner. I'm Matthew Dooch, here again with Shawn Scavarna. Shawn, how are we doing today?
I feel like it's been a while, but then before we started recording, you go, episode 75, we've been doing this for a quarter of a century, or 3/4 of a century now.
3/4
That got me laughing pretty good.
of a century. We have been
3/4
plugging away at the Legends of Grayskull.
And still no cease and desist from the game company, so.
Man,
Go figure.
whatever happened with that game? I was just thinking about that the other day. That just fell off the radar completely.
Yeah, I actually was pretty pumped for that one since it was like the digital. And
Yeah,
all that. It would have been fun to play.
Toolkit.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe they got our cease and desist. I don't know. Eric might have sent them something and said like,
Eric, did you send them a cease and desist? He's saying no. He's saying he did not. Actually, I did just look them up the other day because I was thinking about them. And I'm like, man, it's been... Because they had the playable demo at the 2020 PowerCon.
Yeah.
And there's literally no activity since then. It's really weird. I need to reach out to them and see what's going on. Because that... Like you said, I was really looking for... that was the more D&D... He-Man thing. You could create your own character, the online toolkit, so that, that would be a really easier one to play, like with our situation where we're in different states. So, it's it's a bummer. I hope it's not shelved. Now everything's still active because I went to the website and the Facebook, like it's there. It just, there's been no progress, so we'll see what happens. But what's new with you?
I got some goodies in, if you want to go that route already. And again, here we go, the Mythic Legions moment of the show. They had the in-stock sale at the beginning of October for the Aether Wave, so I ended up grabbing some, and I just figured that this guy's cool. Got a Hellfire Goblin.
Nice. Now that's the one
Love
where
that headpiece.
Yeah, and he's got the alternate tongue, right?
He does actually. You pop out his tongue in this,
right? And
then you can put in the new tongue, which I didn't do because it's a little too long, and I'd kind of like it like this, where he just looks like a Jim Henson monster on steroids.
Have you seen the pictures of him where people have him like with song lyrics, like he's singing? Yeah. You can't.
Well, I mean, look, he looks like he's at a night at the opera ahead of him.
That's what I'm saying.
And then I got this guy, good old Magnus, who's getting a lot of love on a lot of social media. But
I can't get into.
You're not into him?
I can't get into the humans. I can't, the knights and all that, and I just I
don't mind him.
Yeah.
I don't mind him. He definitely has a unique look, and
they do look great. Don't get me wrong; they all look great. But just for me personally, I'm like, nah, give me my creatures, my monsters, my giants, my trolls, all that.
Well, actually, I'll show this one off first because then the other one will lead into Masters a little bit better. So I cobbled together this guy from Magnus parts and from other pieces. I don't have a name for him. He's my own little character, but I like pairing him with Rhaegor, who's my favorite. They look similar, but they look different enough that it's like, hey, we got two guys. They're like in a faction of their own now, I guess, is the way I look at it. But I really like him. He's one that every time I look at my shelf, I'm like, he pops because of that gold on there.
Is that Sir Shawn?
No, not Sir. Shawn is such a bad
Skavana.
So I don't know. I have to come up with a name that involves something about me, but probably not gassy. My wife would say, "Is he Sir Flatulence?" And be like,
Sir Flatulence.
He has dragon fire coming out of his tush. But then
Sir
this
Dragon
one
Fire. That could be good.
Dragon Fire. There we go. This is one I was really excited to do, and I finally did as an homage figure. I made myself a bit of a Kit Bash Fisto. And
very reminiscent, yes.
Exactly. The only thing is, I can't get this. I got a new glove and everything, but it's still not popping like Fisto. But for the time being, it works for me. So until I get another idea. I know there's been other options shown, but I just financially, I'm like saving up for stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll dabble in that next year probably. But beyond that.
Yeah, no, that's about the one thing
old.
you need to find a custom bigger glove.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. I like what you did with the accent and trying to set it off, but yeah, that's sometimes you just got to break down. Those LBCs can only get you so far.
Yeah,
sometimes you got to break down and actually get that custom piece. So speaking saving up for, is there something? Some big plans that you have soon that we might want to share with the fans who might be in the New Jersey area?
Yeah, actually, Jesse from Offworld and I are going to go off state, and we're going to head over to New Jersey in not this weekend, but next weekend for Toy-Con New Jersey.
Oh, not the Jets.
No. Toy-Con New Jersey and Legions Con is Sunday.
Nice.
So we're going for both of those. My wife completely blew my mind last week. We had to talk about it one night, and she was like, "Where is it again?" And this and that. And then the next morning, I woke up and there is a hotel confirmation. She did that for both of us, and I just stood. I literally had my jaw on the floor, looking at my phone that morning, going like, I just mentioned this, and she goes, next time I saw her, because she's been working crazy hours, she goes, "Happy birthday," and then she went to bed. I'm like, thank you. But, yeah.
So
we will be there,
and that is just in like 2 weeks, isn't it? That's
not this weekend, but the weekend after that. What is it? 13th and 14th.
Yeah, 13th and 14th. So next week, next weekend, by the time we get this out. So yeah, if you guys are in the New Jersey area or you're going to Legions Con or Toy Con, make sure to check out meet Shawn and Jesse.
Yep, we'll be out there.
And I gotta send you some swag. Shawn might have some swag by the time you see him. So and we probably won't record before then. So by the end of this episode, Shawn, you need to come up with a Legions Con phrase that pays.
I'll work on that. I don't know. We got a lot going on for one episode that I don't know if my brain's going to process that during the episode. Maybe I'll have to post it on the group later on and be like, "Oh no, okay, I figured it out. Here it is."
That's too easy. We want the guys that are listening. That's why I'm not even going to have you throw it out here. You don't even need anything.
Makes sense.
You don't need anything hard, really. I mean, you just something unique. So
okay.
But yeah, listen in. We'll drop it randomly throughout the episode here, and that'll get you something exclusive. So. So yeah, that's exciting. I'm glad you're gonna get a break. You're gonna get to go to Jersey and meet a lot of these wonderful people from the online realm. Like I said in our PowerCon episode, that was one of the greatest things about going over there was I actually got to meet these people that I talked to. And there's a lot of great people going to this one. So. And if anyone's going and does not want the exclusive Sir Gerard figure that is there, let me know and we can work something out with PayPal. So.
Yeah, definitely. I know Matt would love one, but he unfortunately is not local enough to be able to be there. So
I just starting the new job and everything, and my son has a football tournament that weekend, and it's just so many reasons. It's actually only 12-hour drive or something like that. Might even be less from here. It's not a bad drive, and I would love to go, and it's something I'm eyeing up for next year. But yeah, just this year with already going to PowerCon and starting the new job and everything else, it's just like, nope, not the right time. But I will get there one of these years. Other than that, I did get my All Stars 4 wave. I have not opened it yet. It's over there. That'll be on the docket later today. But it's an exciting time for Legions.
Yeah.
Exciting time for Masters too. Really, it's just I have not gotten a lot lately.
Yeah.
But guys, those CGI toys, they are really pumping those out. I've seen, the bigger figures. Are they 12 inches, 10 inches? I don't know. The larger scales are starting to hit now.
I think they're 12, but maybe I'm wrong.
And Wave 2's coming out with that Power of Grayskull He-Man translucent figure. I don't know if I can skip that one if I see it in the end. Sorceress and my mind's blanking. Who's the third?
Orko.
No, Evelyn. Evelyn's the one. That's
now. The powered up Evelyn.
Yeah. No, they've shown Orko and Ram Man, but they haven't actually hit anywhere yet. But it looks like they're going to do like they did with Origins. It looks like they're going to be like these fast waves of like just a few characters. Origins tracking. I saw Skelly Vader found the Jitsu Buzz-Off Sorceress wave. So, and actually quite a few people, but I remember Skelly Vader specifically. So yeah, there's lots of good stuff hitting right now. If you're into that, Masterverse Wave 2 is starting to hit. My Big Bad Toy Store pre-order is doing nothing, and I have not seen them locally, but some people are getting them.
That wave is awesome looking. I saw a couple people have gotten them already, and the only one that I'm kind of about is Andra, and that's only because I don't have a lot of owning to that character over. If you put her next to Fisto, of course I'm going to go after Fisto because I've known Fisto since 1984 or 5. It's like Andra is like, oh, I met you only a couple months ago. Okay,
right. She's got a blast effect though.
Yeah, which that's cool. And I mean, what gets me is that whole wave, Scareglow and Stinkor and Fisto. Like, that's like my childhood right there. It's really cool. It's like all the uniquenesses of those characters.
Right.
And I really like even the sculpting and stuff looks really well done on those characters.
Yeah, so, they're great looking figures. They look like they jumped right off the screen. I can't wait to get them up. Add them to, like I said, Masterverse is like my thing right out of all the lines that are coming out. And that's not saying that some of the lines are bad, but out of all the lines coming out right now, Masterverse is like my top. Like that's really what's hitting it for me. So I look forward to that. And speaking of Revelation, we got a nice surprise this past week.
Yeah, we did.
If you guys haven't seen it yet, it's on YouTube. It might even be on Netflix proper now. I haven't looked recently, but they did drop the trailer for part 2 of Masters of the Universe Revelation, which premieres on Netflix November 23rd. Nice little Thanksgiving present. So what were your initial thoughts seeing that, Shawn?
I remember going into the trailer, I was just like, okay, let's see. I wasn't like, I was like, ooh, a new trailer.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, the excitement wasn't quite there because I still got PTSD from all of the toxicity we went through over the summer. By the time the trailer was finished, I actually had chills and tears in my eyes at points.
Yes.
I can't lie. It really hit on so many cylinders that I was wanting this one to hit properly.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't believe how much they showed, honestly. And I'm the same way. I went into it. I was hyped. I've been ready for part 2 for a long time now. I really wish they just released it all together, but they didn't. Move on, Matt. So, but so I was pumped, and like you said, I was watching that, and it was hitting me in all the feels. But when it was done, it was kind of like I got that worry. I'm like, if they showed all of that, I'm hoping they still held something. Like, this was the exact opposite of that first trailer they showed.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas that was very much like, we're only allowing you to see very select plot points. We're only, like, we want to keep it a mystery, which I appreciated, because I hate spoilers. This one was just like, here's everything. And I'm like, that was great, but I also kind of feel like I hope there's more. So I just hope they've saved some surprises in there for these 5 episodes.
I gotta say, I felt this trailer was probably one of the biggest reactionary trailers to anything I've ever seen, because the amount of sheer negativity, toxicity, and I don't just mean like people had their issues about the show, but then in the fandom there was all sorts of craziness erupting within the fans even over this, that I feel like that trailer was just them finally going, fine, like, fine, here it is. And I mean, some of the stuff that they went to, I was even shocked that we saw like Adam's wound healing.
Spoiler
his
alerts,
eyes open
if you
up
guys
and
haven't watched it yet.
We should have prefaced it, sorry, but we see, spoiler alert, we see the wound healing, we see his eyes open up, and right off the bat, I guess that must be episode 6, because in order to have that, and I get why they did that, it's like, in order to show the He-Man stuff, you gotta see Adam is okay, but that is like we left it on that, and now that cliffhanger is completely fallen out, because we know that's what's going to happen on the other side.
I guess that's my thing on that point real quick. Like, okay, obviously we knew He-Man was going to be in. Like, I don't think even I'm going to say even the people who, like, spewed the hate about, Adam's dead again, I really don't think even they believed that Adam was actually dead again. Like,
no, I think they wanted to complain. That's
they wanted. It's a shock jock thing, but I think everyone knew that it was there. But to actually show him being healed was like, and that Tila was the one doing the healing. And in a very much like She-Ra, let your wounds be healed way. Like, it was an awesome looking scene. But I it's like, if you're showing me that, I hope there's something just as good that you're not showing me. Because that would have been an amazing scene just going through. And it's got to be episode 6. Like, they're not going to let him writhe in pain for 3 more episodes. But yeah, with stuff like that, it was showing, the thing with Adam about, the sword is just the conduit, but I'm the spark, and him being able to transform without the sword. Like that's huge. And I don't know how I feel about that yet. I'm going to wait to see the whole thing. But I like the idea. I just got to see how it plays out, and we'd already gotten leaks of the Savage He-Man's bio from the toy and everything else. Like, we knew this is where it was going with this, like, pure powered He-Man. That's more savage, seems a little less intelligent. But to actually see that moment was like, okay, so what are you holding back then?
Yeah.
I hope there's something. And I gotta say, they really messed up with the toy of the Savage He-Man. I want that Savage He-Man that's in the trailer. Because that dude, because the Savage He-Man toy that's coming out with in the Orko 2-pack, it's just the Masterverse He-Man looking like the barbarian jungle tribe He-Man. The tie loincloth and no shoes and all that. But in that trailer, when he transforms into a Savage He-Man, he's that big Hulk-like with the long hair, and he's fast, and he's punching Skelly God, and I'm like, I want that. Like, that's awesome.
That moment when it happened, I jumped because I didn't know what to expect when we knew they were going to go there. The reveals started coming out like a week or so ago, or maybe a little bit more than that. And when that moment happened, I had no idea he was also going to be fast. I figured he was just going to be able to punch something and like bring down he could, like if he punched a wall in the castle, the entire castle would be around him, But instead, no, he's got the super speed. He reminds me. Somebody brought it up in one of the groups. They showed a photo from Justice League when Superman gets reincarnated.
Yeah,
and or not reincarnated, but brought back to life, and then he's just like after the Justice League.
Yep.
It's like that is basically what they're pulling in this, in certain respects. Yes. Only it doesn't look like he's going to fight his friends. He's going to fight Skeletor, which is cool, but.
Right,
yeah, it's like I got questions about that.
It seems like he's not completely mindless, not even as much as the Hulk, but just like it's all the powers of He-Man ramped up to 11. And so that kind of overrides. Yeah, that kind of overrides his Adamness and his intelligence, and he's more instinctual,
Yeah.
And I'm hoping they don't go the route where it's like, Teela and Fisto have to take him down like that. I'm hoping it is like he can still direct him, like he knows who's good and who's bad. And he's, because I mean, he beats up on Skelly God quite a bit in this trailer. And I love, and again, or not again, but Skeletor in this trailer absolutely steals the show. And I know that was one of our things from the first 5. We didn't get a lot of time with Skeletor, and I know he failed to impress us on some occasions, but this bits that they showed here, like, this is Skeletor. Like, I love that same scene where he walks into the Royal Palace, and I'm sure there's going to be even more great, but what we see is, Skeletor laughing, like, and then Adam starts laughing too, and he's like, wait, what are we laughing about? I'm like, that is all the goodness of the 80s Skeletor mixed with like, I'm actually a threat. Like, he comes in, he's laughing because he's like, I'm going to kill you all, and then Adam just starts laughing too. He's like, wait, what am I missing? Like, and you get that history between them. Like, he's like, no, wait, he's laughing. Like, something's not right here. I'm missing something. What am I missing? Like, this is gonna, like, I've done this dance before where I think I've got He-Man. I think I've got the royal family. I think I've got Grayskull. And then He-Man pops up and he's like, nope, not today, Skeletor. He's like, and you can just see that all that in Skeletor, like, instantly he's like, nope, something's wrong. Something's wrong. I don't care that I have the sword. I have the power. Something's wrong here. He's not like he should be. And even that line he's got about like, I have the power. Why did it answer his call? Like, it's that same Skeletor. It's like, no, this is mine. This is my destiny. I got it. No. Just that frustration from him, like, every single bleeping time, He-Man.
Yeah. I like that. And for anyone, we got to hear it twice on the first 5 episodes, one of which was He-Man doing it. Yeah. But for anybody that wasn't impressed with Chris Wood doing By the Power of Grayskull, right there.
I was
when you hear that in the trailer of him, he doesn't even have the sword, but it's like, that was epic. I loved how he delivered that line in that way more than I have in Revelation, even though that one, it didn't bother me, but it was definitely like I was waiting for a better version, hopefully, somewhere in the show along the line.
Exactly.
And it made me feel like a kid again to watch that one, because the minute that you see Buzz Off, Ram Man, Fisto, Stratos, the Avians, I was just sitting there yelling at my phone screen, pointing at everyone, and like, I wanted to see this in the first 5. Right. That was the main thing too. And for anyone who had issues with that, I can't blame you, because I wanted to see what is the powerhouse version of Ram Man? What's the powerhouse version of Fisto in action other than running and punching one thing in the first episode? And it's like, I want to see Clamp Champ showing back up. I want to see Buzz Off in action, So I really got a kick out of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And on the transformation, real quick, and that's because this time Chris has put in some effort into it, and not that, but like it's the more declarative, like he's by the power of Grayskull. Like Adam's like, no, I'm calling the power. We're gonna win, Whereas, and it's a great juxtaposition. Now that I see this, it's like, okay, I get why he played it this way at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's that passage of time. He's gone from like, I'm the prince, we're in control, by the power of Grayskull. Like, this is what I do. To, all right, we're in trouble, we're overmatched right now. I need the power of Grayskull. Like, again, and I believe I said that, if not on the show, I said it to you privately, at the end of the first 5, I'm like, we need this next 5. Because I felt that way. I felt they set up a lot of things that were like, all right, this is going to transition over the show. And here, his transformation without the sword is the payoff to that earlier transformation. It's the, look how far we've come. Look how much time has passed. Look how bad things have gotten. And we saw a little bit of that in the first 5, those mirrors,
Yeah.
But I think really after this last 5, it's like all that stuff they set up is gonna come home. And I really like that, and it's making me appreciate that early transformation more now that I've seen this one. So, and I think that's what's going to happen with the first 5. I think once we see the second 5, even though I liked it, I think as a whole, it's going to elevate the whole thing. Because we really only got a half a story, But yeah, those battle scenes they showed were amazing. I'm hoping there are even more masters. I still didn't see my boy Cyclone, Kevin. Cyclone. Because we know he does everything on this show. But yeah, seeing all those guys, it was like, yeah. Evil Lynn becoming the sorceress of Grayskull was amazing.
That was awesome.
Getting to see Webstore, Goatman, Pig Boy, Clawful's back, Spiker's really there this time,
Yeah.
All that, that was great. So, and it goes back. It's like the old mini comics. It seems like, okay, Skeletor and He-Man are back now, and they're gathering their forces. Like, all right, we need to get back. We need to start back at 1, right? We need to Brian McKnight it. We got to start back at 1. We need to get our forces back. I need to. Obviously Adams. We've seen that still shot where he confronts King Randor and Queen Marlena. We are going to get to see that. We're going to get the heroic word. We're going to get the band back together. And get to a place where, we can take on Skeletor. And of course, Skeletor, he knows. He's like, yeah, I got the power. I got the sword. I got Grayskull. But He-Man's going to come. Like, he knows that. Like, I need my warriors. Evil Lynn takes the part of the sorceress. And I'm loving that design. We kind of saw the similar thing in Eternity War, where she became the sorceress of Horikoth, and that was a cool outfit. But I really feel that this one is more like a mirror version of our sorceress, of Teela, where it's like she's got the Zor Falcon motif, and Evelyn's got this bat motif with a literal bat headdress and everything. Like, now that is an evil sorceress of Grayskull. Like, they knocked it out of the park with that design.
Definitely. And there was one part that I know I went off in our private messages, and I just want to throw it out there because it's the perfect place to throw it out, to be honest.
Throw it.
So when I was a kid, and I always looked at the Masters of the Universe box art anytime I got anything.
Right.
That box art was always so grim, dark, mysterious, foreboding.
Yes.
And as a kid, that only made this line more enticing because there is something about that. I think it's part of why Ghostbusters resonated with me as a kid. It's the whole, you as a kid have the power to fight the things that scare you, or to do something about that, and it gives you the power to do it. And in the case of this trailer, they did the one thing that made me, at this moment, got me misty-eyed, and it was this simple little moment where He-Man has the power sword back, and he says, "Get to safety positions." And they're like, "There are no safety positions." And there's like all these villagers behind them and stuff. It's like, "Oh, there is, behind me." And the minute they did that, I'm like, that's my He-Man. Like, when I was a kid, I always pictured myself in those Rudy Obrero artwork paintings on the boxes.
Yep.
And when I thought of what that would have been like, I thought, Beastman's going to try to grab me from behind. Then coming out of the darkness is Skeletor. You see the red eyes. He's cackling. Evil Lynn. They're all flanking you and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you just hear, "I've got you." And he jumps down and starts fighting everything, because he is the one warrior that will come through the darkness and fight all of the bad things that are giving you nightmares. And that is He-Man. And when he said that, I was like, you got me. Because that is such a primal He-Man moment for me that I can't wait to see that in the context of the story. Because I was already getting emotional just with that. And I'm like, oh crap, I can only see where this is going to go. I'm going to be like Kevin Smith going, "I watched The Flash."
Yeah.
What happened on The Flash? It was a normal episode, but I watched it. He's bawling his eyes out.
No, it was great. I got chills down my spine. Same reason. It's like, that is He-Man. That is so. All this is happening. Evil Warriors, Shadow Beast, Skelcons, dragons, like everything going on, and He-Man just like, "I got you." Like
exactly.
That. Yes, exactly. That is He-Man, and the fact that they're even enlisting villagers with pitchforks and shovels like that. Yeah, that's Filmation, right? That's Great Rebellion stuff right there. Like, it was great from beginning to end. I was absolutely enthralled, amazed. They clearly showed you this time where the story was going. And and I think you're right. I think that was absolutely reactionary. I think it was, we're tired of hearing people try and twist this into something else. We're tired of trying to, honestly, just like with any good trailer, Marvel does it all the time. They'll include whole scenes that aren't even in it. They didn't even go that far. But, they're trying to do that to preserve the narrative for those of us that don't like spoilers. But I think Netflix this time very much took the stand of, we're just going to show you what's happening here. Like, this is the storyline. And like I said, for me personally, if that's all we get is seeing all this fleshed out, I'll be very happy. But I am hoping that there are a couple surprises that they're holding in their back pocket to make me just go, wow.
Well, one of them, real quick, I will say one of them I wish they would have kept out of the trailer, because I would have cheered. Are you going there?
No, go ahead. You take it.
Okay.
That was going to be my last thing.
Okay, the one that I really wish they would have kept out of the trailer, and it's literally a blink and you miss it moment for me, is Marlena in the Talon Fighter.
Okay, you had a different one.
I really wish they would have kept that in the show, because I would have been like jumping out of my seat and cheering that part on, especially with it being connected to you and I doing the show, and we watched that and reviewed it. And that would have been like, oh, that's a deep cut, and they did it, you know? But anyway, that is my one. I really wish they wouldn't have shown that, because that looks, the thing I love is that just goes to show you how bad it is that Marlena is even getting back in the pilot seat one more time.
Right.
And she's even going into it with everybody else. It's not just Randor and not just He-Man. Even she's showing up to the fight. Yeah.
No, that is a great scene. We actually had different things. My one thing that I really wish that they had kept out is the very last shot of the trailer where Scareglow is about to chop down King Randor, and you see the red robe shoot out, grab the scythe, and we hear a very peppy, Trollin-like voice say, "You guys are in trouble now." And again, it's like, I mean, I preached on episode 4 that there is no way Orko is actually dead. I never for 1 second believed he was. But the fact that they put the confirmation in the trailer, like, that's a moment where, it would have been, and again, this is all speculative because we don't even know how this is going to be presented. But the way it's shown in the trailer, I'm imagining it's he pops back up at the right moment to save King Randor, and if that is the way it happens, like, that is a Han Solo, you know, shooting Darth Vader's TIE fighter moment.
Yep.
Like, I still remember the first time I watched A New Hope, and, you know, Luke's targeting, and Vader's right behind him, and I'm like, well, he's screwed. Like, I don't see how, you know, and I want to say I was probably like 10 or 11, probably. I mean, I was actually a bit older before I actually watched A New Hope. Might have been a little young. But, like, in my mind, I'm not even thinking about Han. Like, Han left. Yeah. You know, I'm at that age where I'm just like, oh, he left. He took his money and he left. All right, so by the time we get here, I'm like, how? And then you just hear that voice, you know, you're clear, take the shot, or whatever. I'm probably messing, someone's yelling at me like, that's not the line. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm remembering, I feel the feeling right now of when you're like, Han came back! Like, yes! You know, that's the way it's presented in this trailer, is that Orko's like, oh no, you're in trouble now, Scareglow. And like, that feeling, like I said, that's the one part I wish they'd taken out of the trailer, because I think, while I didn't believe he was dead, I felt that's something that would have, like, wowed me with Orko popping back up. You know, like, here I am!
Yeah. But again, we used it already. Reactionary. Yeah. It really was. Yes. And there is that one line in the trailer, and they put it in at a really cool moment. It was right after Adam turns into Mega He-Man or whatever, Savage He-Man, where it says reclaim the power. And when I saw that, I'm like, yeah, Netflix is just basically, this is what's happening. Netflix is going, we're reclaiming it too, because we're freaking tired of you guys complaining about this crap, you know? And there's Battle Cat. It's like, the heck with this. You got to pay me to be on the podcast, Dad. Yeah.
For those audio listeners, my cat Willow just popped up into frame there and then clawed me and ran off. Because that's what cats do.
Yes, they do.
But yeah, and don't get me wrong.
That's what they did.
I feel like, I want everyone to know, I love the trailer. I love where this is going. I don't want to act like I'm being negative. I'm just being selfish right now. And I hate spoilers. Shawn knows this about me. Everybody knows this about me. And this was a very spoiler-filled trailer. And I wasn't expecting that after the first one. So it caught me off guard. I loved it. This next 5 episodes is going to be great. But yeah, that's, like you said, this is very reactionary. And I'm not even saying that as a negative thing. Like, I think Netflix had to. Like, they had to try and curb some of these fools who just can't stop making these clickbait videos. And this was the best they could do to try and stem that. Because nobody wins from that. Like, all you do is you get the toxicity, you get the hate, you get the, whatever. Like, there's no positive to that, except that some guy made, $20 that month or whatever off YouTube ads. Like, ugh.
The one thing I will say, and then I'm good on this topic as well, is I almost don't need a second. The first the first 5 episodes they did the second trailer. I don't need that. And this already has me. I'm there. Just release it on the 23rd, and I'm gonna sit on my couch and I'm gonna watch all 5. I don't need a second trailer because I honestly feel after this one, all they're going to do is start showing too much. And then I'm even going to get to the point of going, do I really need to show up now? Because that was, I even, there were a couple moments definitely where, like I said, the Adam getting healed, it's like, it would have been kind of nice for them not to show that so that you're going, well, how did that happen? At least, because you figure He-Man will be back. But at this point, I feel like everything else is just going to be worse in spoilers.
Oh, it's got to be.
And then it does. So just you did a great one.
Yep.
Let's just get to the 23rd.
And I'm hoping it will be that way because this one is much more in line with the second trailer that they released initially. Because that first one was, the holding out for a hero. I think there was like 1 or 2 lines of dialogue. Like it was very much a teaser trailer. And then they came out with the actual like trailer that gave us a little glimpse into the story, some more dialogue and everything else. Whereas this is more in that second vein, so I'm assuming this will be it. Maybe they might release a clip or 2 like they did from the first one. We had that clip of He-Man on the boat, fighting Skeletor and Merman. I could see something like that, but I don't expect them to do a second trailer. And if they do, I'll be with you. I will not watch it after watching this one. It's like, anything more you show, it's just like too much.
Agreed.
Ugh. High hopes. November 23rd. Check it out. And now, are you planning on rewatching the first 5 shortly before the second 5?
I might. Since it's a Tuesday.
I believe so.
Yeah, I'm at the point of if over the weekend I have the ability to, I'll probably watch them after the kids go to bed. It is a Tuesday, I think.
It's a Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm off Tuesday and Wednesdays now.
There you go. I know what Matt's going to be doing that day then.
And my hope, actually what I want to do is I want to go all the way through at once. Honestly, I don't know if kids in time will allow it, but my hope is to just start right back at the beginning and just all the way through. Episode 1 through 10 and go. So you're looking about 5-6 hours. I mean, it's not a terrible time commitment, but
no, I think the most that you're looking at is probably 4 to 5 hours tops, because the first 5 are about 20-ish minutes, almost 30 minutes a piece.
Yeah, it depends. Some are closer to 30. Even just using 30, 10 episodes, 5 hours. So
yeah. Honestly, I'll tell you, when the first ones came out that weekend, when I was puttering around like doing my part swapping with Legions and all that, I was down in my basement and I had it on, and 1 minute it started the first episode, the next minute I knew, he just killed Adam. Well, crap, that was quick. So, you can almost do a 2-nighter, just do the first part first night, and then the second night watch the second part or whatever, and then you got your whole series.
We'll see how it goes. But yeah, my at least I want to watch them shortly before, like you said, like the night before, maybe the weekend before. Like, I want the refresher. But my dream is to go just like, all right, Tuesday, all episodes are on Netflix, play episode 1 and just right through to the actual
what got me is just from my kids' reactions, because I usually throw those in there when we talk about this stuff. When I showed it to my kids, my daughter was in awe.
Yes.
And she, like, there's moments in that trailer where she just couldn't believe this is what they're going to be doing. My son, when he saw it, goes, I don't want it. And I'm like, why not? I want the other one. So it's boom. It's the CGI one is my son's He-Man. He pretty much line in the sand there. And my daughter, she'll watch both of them. This is a little more for her, in my opinion, than the CGI one even is. Yeah. But she has reasons to love them both, and she'll watch them both. And there you go.
All my kids were amazed by this trailer. They couldn't wait. They did ask me, though, because I said the new trailer's out. And their first reaction was, I forget how they said it. I think, but yeah, basically they were asking, is it for the CGI one? Mm-hmm. For the next episodes of those,
so that they want to get on.
They want to get going on that, and it's probably and that was a more recent one, so I can see why it's in their mind. But yeah, they're just. Then I'm like, no, it's for Revelation, and they were still like, oh yeah, let's watch it, and they loved it. They can't wait. They were shocked by the stuff that was shown, and even they were going, oh, Scareglow's back, and there's Ram Man. They were excited about that, so they're excited about it. They'll watch it with me. But yeah, I got the same feeling that they were more like, well, what about He-Man Masters Universe? Like that ended. Like they're still thinking about that. Like how's that cliffhanger end? So
yeah.
And I love it. I love that. I love that they're getting, enthused about it and that they want to watch it, because I've never been the parent that's like, oh, you have to watch this because I watched it as a kid. Like, I've always just been like, well, I'm watching it. Do you want to? Or they have just seen it themselves because of, they've seen my toys and they want to play with the toys or what. Like, I've always just let them come to it naturally. And all of this is really, like, I think that CGI show is bringing them to it more than any of my showing them Filmation or showing them to the toys ever has. And that's exactly what we wanted out of that at the end of the day. It's just a plus that I have actually enjoyed the CGI series as well, and I can't wait to see where that goes. So I do think it's kind of hitting on all cylinders right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Revelation, November 23rd. It's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
All right. Now for our main topic of the day. We're going to jump back. We've been talking a lot about Revelation, CGI. We've been talking a lot about the new stuff. So it is time to jump back to some vintage goodness.
Goodness.
This is going to be a little different than normal, guys, because we have really basically we have been inundated with a lot of Teela lately. So Shawn and I decided this was a good time to go back and look at some vintage origins. So this is going to be a little different than our normal reviews and everything, because we're not really doing a review today. We're doing more of a discussion. But we're going to start off, we're going to do a little compare and contrast. We're going to take a look at Tila throughout the years. In the 80s, we're going to take a look at her mini-comic origin, and then we're going to take a look at her Filmation origin and do a bit of a compare contrast in what worked for us, what didn't work for us. So let's start off here with the Tale of Tila. This should have been... this was 1982 DC Comics, and I am reading it courtesy of the He-Man Masters Universe mini comic collection. And this was part of that second wave published by DC Comics, where they were starting to kind of get more of the groundwork of Eternia fleshed out. This is where it was starting to change a little bit. and they were really trying to flesh out the characters and figure out who they were. So, Shawn, when was the first time that you read this mini comic? Did you have this one as a kid, or is this something you discovered later?
No, I had it as a kid. I can't for the life of me remember. I mean, I was still back. This was definitely pre-filmation for me. And I think my mom was reading some of these to me, but I was following the story, at least using the visuals, which was why comic books were such a big deal to me as a kid.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think it, like, when I was a kid, it was always kind of interesting to see, here's a main character, yet not the spotlight character. And here we're getting into an origin about her.
Right.
And it was trying to fill in that whole, well, we gave you one figure and she's got the snake headdress, but we keep showing her with just her hair and she's not wearing the headdress, and that's Teela. But then we have, and it was almost like, even back then Mattel was thinking, we need to make sense of this, because now we have one character represented one way, but we still have the warrior goddess in there too,
Exactly. And that was a big point of confusion in the beginning of the toy line, that they kind of, I can't remember if it was they merged. I think it was they end up merging. Like, I think there was actually designed to be two figures, the goddess and Tila, and then they kind of just released the one figure, but then in the comics they kept using both of them. And we even saw in the DC miniseries that we've covered way back when, that was like in the teens, I think, or even maybe even earlier.
That was in our early days. Yeah,
it was our early days. But in the letters column there, someone wrote in about, like, they're confused because the toy is Teela, heroic warrior goddess, but every comic they picked up has Teela and the goddess. Like, there's a literal kid writing in, like, this doesn't make sense. And in there, DC Comics replied that, don't worry, we have mini comics coming out that are going to explain this, because this is same thing. DC did that miniseries, and then they published this wave or two of mini comics to be included with the toys. So right off the bat, they're like, okay, we have to explain this. And this is one that I did not read until the days of the internet. I did not have this mini comic as a kid. I did not know about this origin at all. So obviously that is going to color my view of this origin. But basically here we are, and again, they're already retconning stuff that had already been established in the previous mini comics, because Teela had been around. But we had seen Teela meet Man-at-Arms along with He-Man, and there's, and there wasn't any relationship between them in those first four. They were just warriors that He-Man met and started fighting with them. Now here we're seeing, this is where they're cementing in the mini comic world that Man-at-Arms is Teela's adopted father, and so it's kind of that natural evolution where they're trying to lock down some of the more abstract concepts. And you gotta figure, 1982, Filmation is working on their stuff at the same time, which I'm sure, we discussed that before too. DC had to have had access. There had to have been some sort of a back and forth, even if it was indirectly through Mattel, where Mattel's like, hey, Filmation is doing this. Let's see if we can get some of that in here. But basically the story is pretty straightforward, and we're not going to go as in-depth because, like I said, we're trying to focus more on Teela and her origin. But that's basically all this comic is. Skeletor lures Teela away from the palace. He wants to use her to conquer Grayskull, and, Point Dread has also appeared. And we find out that Point Dread appears every 20 years. And the last time it appeared, Skeletor tried to take control of the Talon Fighter, but failed because the goddess showed up. Skeletor captured the goddess and made a magical duplicate of her, which took the form of a baby, who Skeletor then decided he was going to raise that baby clone, magical clone of the goddess, and when she was of age, he would take her as his bride, and they'd be able to conquer Grayskull and rule the universe. Skeletor, you are a creepy old man.
Yeah, nothing creepy about that at all, right?
Not at all. So, but unfortunately, Man at Arms showed up, defeated Skeletor, rescued the goddess, but the goddess then decided not to reabsorb the baby, which was created from draining her magic, but instead gave her to Man at Arms to raise as his daughter. And we find out that the goddess's name is Teela as well, because Man at Arms says, if you will permit, I will name her Teela after you, goddess. So again, that, like you said, they're really trying to tie in that toy line that we released Teela as the heroic warrior goddess. Like that.
Yeah.
It's literally both of their names. And Skeletor, after explaining all this, now that he's got Teela, he's going to mind control her and take her as his bride. They're going to rule Grayskull. He-Man, Stratos, Ram Man, and Battle Cat realize something's wrong. Teela's missing. Her battle ram's gone. They go to find her. Man at Arms stays behind and meets up with the goddess so that they can go, because he's got a feeling that this has something to do with her true origin. Why he thinks that, I don't know, but he does. So the heroic warriors meet the evil warriors. They fight. Skeletor goes to Grayskull, which, because of Teela's link with the castle, it's going to permit Skeletor to enter, just like he'd planned. But Man at Arms and the goddess show up, trying to free Teela from the mind control. Goddess does not want to harm Teela, obviously. And so she ends up reabsorbing Teela into herself and becoming the full goddess again and banishing Skeletor from Grayskull. After Skeletor is taken care of, the goddess places the Talon Fighter onto Grayskull so that Skeletor cannot control it again. They want to know what happened to Teela, and the goddess splits off the adult Teela from herself once again, saying that while it felt glorious to be whole again, Teela has a life of her own now, and I will not deprive her of it. And it ends with He-Man pondering that even though this has been a great victory, will Teela always be Teela, or will she someday have to merge with the goddess forever? So pretty basic, but it raises some very interesting questions. Namely, that whole idea of, can Teela be her own person forever, or will someday she have to remerge with the goddess? This one always throws me for a loop every time I read it. There is just so much going on in this short story. What are your thoughts before I go into mine? I've talked for a minute here, so what'd you like about this origin?
Let's see, what did I like? I think it was kind of cool that there is an aspect of the sorceress getting parted from some of her power, and then this baby happening from it in a sense. But then on the other side of it, for me, I'm not a fan of when they talk cloning in stories. That to me is always like I am unlike Travis Bowles, where I am not watching Clone Wars, so because I know every other thing is Clone Wars. and it's just one of those things that to me, I always feel like when you get into cloning, it automatically undermines something that could be done without using it, I guess.
Yeah.
But it is kind of interesting to think, okay, you take a part of the sorceress's power away from her, and that power is alive, so it creates life through it or whatever. But the means that it happens with the whole creepy Uncle Skeletor thing is really like, even as a kid, I was like, he's gonna raise her to be his bride. Like, I don't know. I just knew that was just wrong. That concept was not a
grooming.
Good
yeah. No,
the grooming aspect was
terrible. But yeah, I agree. It's a really interesting concept, but at the same time, and really, that makes, in this continuity, that makes Skeletor her father.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is the one who siphoned this power from the goddess and made this baby. As much as the goddess is her mother, Skeletor is her father, which,
that's a little bit of a Smurfette thing. Because in the Smurfs, Gargamel created her to mess with the Smurfs and cause havoc, which I only just found that out a couple years ago. I don't know why I'm even using that like I'm an authority, but
it's the same thing. Absolutely.
That's interesting from a perspective, at least, because when it's the Luke Skywalker syndrome to me. It's like, if you say that the biggest evil in the universe, in Star Wars' case, is Darth Vader, technically, I guess, even though there's higher ups over him. And in Masters, obviously, it is Skeletor. And you say this evil incarnate character helped to create you, but then you are a force for good. That's interesting. That is something that I do like the concept of. It's always that mucky stuff on the other side of the concept of, I'm going to make this baby, but then I'm going to groom the baby to be there. And it's like, if he would just say, I'm going to raise her and have her become the next sorceress so I can be the one in Grayskull, that would have maybe been a better in, I guess. Because I'm hung up on that. I know that I am.
No, the bride thing is weird. Just the fact that Skeletor would even want to take a bride. And that was a kind of focus of those early mini comics. Like that Skeletor was actually gonna, I guess they were trying to do like a He-Man versus Skeletor for the affections of Tila. You know what I mean? Like that. Well, that type of thing, but it's unnecessary, I've always felt.
As of the way that we tell stories now and the way that we try not to do that, it makes it like it really dates that story, in my opinion, because like I remember when I was a kid, I liked watching the Superpowers Galactic Guardians TV show when that was on, and they had Darkseid come in. So that opened up the whole thing of, okay, well, it's not just Lex Luthor. We got Darkseid showing up to cause some trouble for the DC superheroes. And almost every episode, it's, I want Wonder Woman as my bride. And there would be, now we're going to kidnap Wonder Woman. And now it's about what? And it's like, dude, like, it doesn't have to be about the bad guy needing to have the girl who's the trophy. It could be that she's her own thing and the bad guy wants something else. But unfortunately, that's where this one went. No, so that to me is not the greatest idea. That's
an old trope. It's Lois Lane dating Lex Luthor. It's like, okay, is she gonna go for the bad guy, or is she gonna go for the good guy? You know,
exactly.
But yeah, it definitely dates it, and it just, I guess my big thing is they really don't even deal with Teela's side of this. Like there's no Teela trying to come to terms with like, wait, I'm what? You know, she just kind of like accepts it, and it's He-Man at the end that's pondering like, well, what does this mean for her? Which is a very interesting question. What does this mean for her? Mm-hmm. Is obviously we saw that the goddess is a lower power level without Tila a part of her. So will there come that time where she needs that energy back? Will it be permanent this time? Like that to me is actually a really intriguing story element. Mm-hmm. And how much power does Tila have on her own? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, everything we've seen has always hinted that Tila is going to follow, you know, follow in the destiny of being a powerful sorceress. But what's that mean in this world? Where she's literally just a fraction of that power and not even necessarily tied into like a bloodline.
Mm-hmm. This story reminded me of why I wish they could do almost like let's veer this in two different directions. Right. Let's keep telling this mini comic continuity. Right. Because it's giving you a different story and we're fleshing out things that Filmation is going to do on their own. But maybe this could be the toy line story in some ways. And I know that would be confusing. It's almost the equivalent of, Revelation and He-Man and the Masterverse. But He-Man and the Masters of the Universe both being out at the same time, giving you two different versions of something. But you can enjoy them both. Because once Filmation came into it, then everybody was doing the whole, well, she's just the sorceress's daughter, and Man-at-Arms adopted her because, the sorceress wanted her to and all that, or wanted him to. In this case, you're dealing with a whole different character. You're not even dealing with the sorceress. You're dealing with the goddess. And what would that mean to have her be that character? Right. And what's that eventual destiny versus being the Falcon version, like in Filmation. Right. So that's a story that, to me, it would still be fun to tell, even if it's like a what if or something.
And we've said that before. The mini comic continuity, that early one, is prime for an Elseworld style, comic series where it's like, okay, we're just gonna stay in these confines and see where this story goes. Because that is the intriguing part to me. Like I said, I'm really disappointed that they didn't take a minute in this comic to get Teela's reaction to all of this. She is very passive in this story. She is just along for the ride, and I mean, in this story, she knows. Like, they don't hide it from her. They don't explain it away at the end. They don't, no, it's revealed. You are my daughter, my clone. And she never has that opportunity to go, well, what does this mean now? Real quick, because we're already kind of getting into it, let's take a second here right quick to discuss her Filmation origin, which came out famously in the episode Teela's Quest, written by Paul Dini. And this was one of the earliest episodes of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe from Filmation. It was included as the second episode on Volume 1 of the VHS, The Greatest Adventures of All. It went Diamond Ray of Disappearance, Teela's Quest, and then Colossal Awakes, which are all amazing episodes. I had that video as a kid. I watched it all the time. So right from the get-go, Filmation's going, we have to explain Teela and her origin and her connection, to the world. Like, that is how important of a character she is, And we get, like I've said many times, we get one of the greatest episodes of the series. And if anybody wants to know who the characters of He-Man and Teela are, and really, when they're written 100%, watch Teela's Quest. Because this sets the tone for Teela and for He-Man for this entire series. And not even He-Man, the Prince Adam as well. As we've discussed before, in Filmation, Adam really has to keep up his Adam persona. And, I know we're focused on Teela today, but real quick, with that opening scene where, Teela's confronting Adam, and she's like, where were you today? You missed training. And he says, oh, I was busy with royal duties or whatever. And they've got the memory device. And Teela's like, oh, yeah, let's take a look at that. And she puts it on him, and it shows Cringer sleeping and him fishing, dozing off. And she's like, royal duties, huh? Shouldn't you be ashamed of yourself, Adam? And he goes, I am. I didn't catch a thing. Like, right there. Like, that is... this whole episode is just full of these little, like, one-liners from He-Man and Adam that are just like, that's the character. You know?
Yeah. Well, I still remember I had an anxiety moment when I was a kid when that happened, because all I kept thinking was, if she's not careful, she's going to see him do the transformation. Because I thought maybe in the morning he had something he had to address as He-Man. That would have been a hell of a thing. Like, second episode, secret's out.
And dude, I got that a bit from the writing. Because Adam was panicked. Like, he was panicked. Like, oh! He was panicked more than just like, oh, she's gonna catch me fishing. He's like, wait, what is this gonna show? You know, again, masterfully written. But basically, the premise of the episode is that Teela is upset that she has no memories of her mother. She cannot. I mean, and she said, Man-Arts has been a great adoptive father, but that's all he is. And she's really having some questions about who she is and where she comes from. Like, this is... I mean, guys, we're talking episode 2 of Filmation here, basically. Like, this... Just saying. This is an integral part of Teela. And she talks to Man-at-Arms. She goes to Man-at-Arms. She's like, what can you tell me about my mother? And he says to her, which I thought this was, on Man-at-Arms' part, a horrible way to address the issue. He tells her, he's like, that is a secret I've sworn never to reveal. Like, man,
boom, close that door.
Well, but not only close that door, but to admit to her that obviously he knows something at least, but I'm not going to tell you. And I get it's a tough spot, It's I don't want to lie to her, but I also can't tell her this. But if I make up something, how's that going to come back and bite me later when she eventually does find out?
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty interesting theme, actually. But so Teela is frustrated. She's upset. And she said, you know what? I'm finally going to do something about it. This is something she thought about for years. And she is going to go seek out the Oracle of the Crystal Sea, because he's supposed to be able to be this great oracle that can, he sees all, knows all, and can reveal all. She's like, I'm going to find out the truth. And she heads off. In similar fashion, Adam finds out that, Orko tells him that Teela's heading to the Crystal Sea, though he doesn't know why. And I was like, the Crystal Sea can be dangerous. She went alone. I'm going to suit up. Transforms. Him and Battlecat take off after her to make sure she's all right. Orko also ends up telling the sorceress about it. And the sorceress also takes off to check on Teela, thinking, actually kind of like in the mini comic, like, this might be tied into something that I need to be there for. So they both take off. Teela's heading through the Crystal Sea. We find out that, again, 20 years earlier, Merman had tried to sacrifice the daughter of Zor the Falcon to... Oh, no, he's trying to... I'm sorry. My bad. He was trying to sacrifice Zor, this mystical falcon, to Bakul, a sea demon, as an offering and that would help Merman gain control over him. And kind of the same, a similar kind of origin. Zor calls Man-at-Arms to help because Merman's, he's trying to approach the nest, and there's something in the nest that Zor doesn't want him to get. Man-Arms shows up, defeats Merman, and we don't find out at that point what's in the nest. But it all kind of flashes to present day here, where Skeletor sees Teela's head into the Crystal Sea. Merman goes, you know what? I'm going to use Teela, and I'm finally going to get control of Bakul. So he heads off. They do, and Teela finds the Oracle. I know I kind of conflated some of this, but Teela hears that first part of her origin story but the Oracle is interrupted at the point where he's about to reveal what's in Zor's nest, and that's when Merman shows up with his fish demons and captures Teela. He-Man shows up shortly thereafter, and the Oracle tells him that, Merman took Teela. He-Man heads to save her. Great fight, great quips. He-Man versus the fish people. He breaks in. Merman has risen back cool. He's about to eat Teela. He-Man throwing the sword to free Teela. Teela using the sword to fend off back cool. I mean, it's a great action scene. Zor swoops in and destroys the Crimson Pearl, which was allowing Merman the possibility of controlling Bakul. Bakul turns on Merman. He-Man, being the He-Man we know he is, goes up to save Merman and goes, "I may hate myself later," but and he ends up saving Merman. I love Merman's line too when after He-Man throws him off there, and I love how He-Man doesn't hesitate to save Merman. And the second Merman is clear, he's like, "You fool! Now Bakul's gonna destroy you," and he just takes off. He's like, in pure slimy merman fashion, he takes off. And then He-Man ends up defeating Bakul, and they head back to the Oracle so that Teela can finish the story. And I will actually let John Irwin and Linda Gary take it from here.
Oh, Oracle, finish your tale. Tell me of my mother.
Young Man-at-Arms had driven off Merman and made his way to the Falcon's nest. Inside the nest was a baby girl. It was the sorceress's young daughter. With the passing of her husband, she had brought the child to the mountain to raise her in peace. But after Merman's attack, the Falcon knew that without a real home, the baby would never be truly safe. The young warrior's heart went out to the child, and he promised to care for her all his days. You are that child, Teela.
That means my mother is the sorceress of Grayskull. Mother? Yes. You are my own daughter, and someday you will take my place as the mystic guardian of Grayskull. But for now, you have other deeds to do. And until that time when your special destiny calls, you must forget what you have learned today. She will only remember that her mother was a woman who loved her very much. I leave her secret with you, He-Man. You can, I assume, keep a secret?
I've had lots of practice.
And right there, that's everything. That's what I'm saying. Like, these characters are ready to perfection in this episode. He-Man with just his little one-liners, his witty, his wittiness, and right there it tells you, and that's the episode. Like, it was all about Teela. It's all about her discovering her past, and when she finds it, she is forced to forget it. Sorceress says, until the time that you're taking over for me, and you will take over as Sorceress of Grayskull. And until that time, it's better for you not to know. It's safer for you. That the tear on Sorceress's face, like, I've had to give her up for a second time. And this is always the origin I will go to for Teela. Because I just feel that it's got more of the heart than Tale of Teela. No offense to it, but like I said, Tale of Teela does not explore Teela. It just explores her literal origin. This one, you get the feeling of what the sorceress has given up, what Teela is missing in her life, and how that affects her to this day. Even being raised by Man-at-Arms, having a loving family, in the royal palace, she still knows there's a part of her missing. And she yearns for that, she longs for that. And it sets up everything you need to know about Teela the sorceress and their relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a more well thought out version of it. There's still some things that I have my own questions when I was watching it last night. I was like, I guess the idea of, her being in the nest is still a little odd. And I know there's people that like to make jokes, but it's like, so how was I get questions like, okay, if she's happening to be the Falcon form and she's not in Grayskull, but she's still I'm like, how does that work? But it's a cartoon and it's a fantasy. I get it. So,
and real quick, I think that kind of rolls into why she gives up the baby.
Yeah.
Like, she realizes, sense. I mean, they don't spell, but she realizes, like, okay, like, obviously she knew Grayskull wasn't the place for a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of Grayskull, in her human form outside of Grayskull, she's basically powerless.
Yeah.
So she's got to be Zor to get around outside of Grayskull. So she's trying. This is Sorceress's attempt to give Teela a life. She takes her hide-in mountain. She thinks she'll be safe. Merman shows up, and Sorceress realizes just how defenseless she really is. And so it's like, so her options are take her back to Grayskull and raise her there, where it's just the two of them, or give her to Man-at-Arms and let her have a life. And it's that mother's sacrifice. And I think it all rolls into it that, like, okay, Tila, that was a shitty plan. Like, this is not gonna work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm just I like that one for the most part better than the other one. There was something I was going to bring up and I can't remember what based on what you were saying though, and that's bugging me.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I do. I think it's a more well thought out story. The emotion being there with it, because I mean, even that part, and maybe it's since I've become a parent. But that whole moment where, she's like, she'll only know that she had a mother that loves her and all that stuff. And it's like, if I put myself in those shoes, I couldn't picture leaving my kids like that to anybody else to raise just because of what I'm doing. That's heavy.
Right. So. And that it hits, like you say, it hits me more as a parent now, but even as a kid, I'm like, and it was Sorceress trying to give her some resolution. Like, I can't let you remember this, Teela. But I am going to leave a little something in there. Like, you're going to remember a sliver of how you felt hearing, finding it out. Like, I'm going to try and give you a little something, a little closure. So hopefully you can, move on from this and live your life. I mean, those are some heavy themes. And like I said, right there, the fact that she says, you will. You will. This isn't obvious. You will become Sorceress someday. Like that.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that it hits me every time I watch this. Like no, you are that, and that's gonna lead to strife. I know it's gonna lead to strife. When you follow that out logically, it's going to lead to strife. But the Sorceress feels like there's no other choice. It is you. It will have to be you. I'm giving you this life now, but when I'm unable to continue, you will step in. So down the road, that's going to lead to conflict. That's going to lead to somebody, just like all of us did with our parents, right? Like, if they wanted us to go a certain way, and that might not be what we want, So, I mean, they never got to explore any of that information, obviously, but you could really feel like Paul is setting this up, like there will be these threads that we could go down someday.
Exactly. And I remembered what it was. So a lot of people watching Revelation were having issues with her finding the revelations out at the end of the first episode. And it's like, well, look at her even in this episode.
Yep.
She takes off just on a whim and she's running off to go and figure out stuff. And who's it about? Her.
Right.
It's all about her there too. So it's all these people having this issue about Teela is all about her. And it's like, I'm not trying to peg her as a selfish character or anything like that.
No.
But she is somebody that when it applies to her, she wants to get to the bottom of it. And on top of that, she does get more aggressive to find a solution usually and stuff. So in that way, this one, it's like, if you watch this episode, how does Teela in Revelation really feel different? It doesn't to me, it feels like the natural, this would be her after a certain amount of time of struggling with those things. Even if she got that peaceful resolution like you're talking about, eventually it's going to be like, what the hell is all this? Because she does have these questions still. So that's just me.
It's right from the beginning of 1983, right from the beginning of Filmation, they're putting this in there that she is not content with not knowing, and I like that in Revelation we got to see a little bit, like I was saying, they set up these threads to be explored later and they never got to. It's nice to see them going, hey, let's explore this a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
And something else a lot of people forget, and I kind of forgot too, obviously it would be great to find out who Teela's father is. That's obviously never happened off of this vintage series. But I forgot about the line about with her father's passing. So right there, they've set up another element where it's like, okay, the father died, I assume, in battle. That just, we're on Eternia. It makes sense.
Man-at-Arms, Man-at-Arms did say he died to protect, to keep everyone free, if I remember right. So, yeah.
Right, but you kind of forget about that, because there is that big, who is Teela's father? Who could he be? I like that they took, even though they didn't name the father, that they took the moment to definitively go, he has passed. He will not come into play. Now, I'd still like at some point for them to kind of explore that backstory. That would be a fun tale. Kind of Teela Na's life between her becoming the sorceress and, what were those adventures? How'd she meet her the father and everything else like that. But I like that they took the moment to put a pin in it and go, because there are even people to this day that go, well, Man-at-Arms is probably really her father. But it's like, no, they definitively said her father passed either before she was born or when she was an infant. Like that, that's done. And I like that. I like that they left it vague so that you can still explore it. But at the same time, they also definitively said, it's not Man-at-Arms, but we don't know who it is. And it's not somebody who's still operating today. So that's nice too. It's open-ended, but not completely. But yeah, it's like I said, this is my default origin. This is a phenomenal episode, and we are going to have to do a full deep dive on this one day. But really comparing the two origins, obviously the Filmation one wins it for me. How about you?
The other one, like you said, it's all about her, but nothing showing the effect on her. And so this one, I think I'm not adopted. I don't know too many people who have been adopted, but I know my one boss was actually, and she went down the rabbit hole for a bit of trying to find her parents.
Sure.
So, as it is something that I could see, it made a compelling story here. And it's something that, I wouldn't see Teela as somebody to let that lie, because she's who she is, So this one definitely, and the main thing I hated about the other one was the creepy Uncle Skeletor thing, and thank God that is gone. We have Merman trying to get Bakor. That's great. One of the names of the monsters on Masters that stuck with me because of how much he said it on that episode. So even as a kid, I would be running around going, Bakor!
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that, because that's one of the things I was thinking about last night watching this. Is a lot of these scenes I remember replaying as a kid. The He-Man, I'm gonna hate myself later, and saving the villain, and Bakul came back in my stories all the time. Like that the design, the name, like you said, everything about him just resonated with me. Like this whole episode, and it's like I said, it sets up one of the greatest parts of the lore, the Tila sorceress, connection, which obviously we're flowing into here, and we didn't touch it during the trailer talk, and I think that was very purposeful on both our parts.
Mm-hmm.
In this new part of Revelation, it does appear that we are actually going to see Teela embrace her destiny for the first time. We've gotten, Teela's triumph in the Filmation series, Mike Young Productions. What was the name of that episode? I hate my brain sometimes. And I know we didn't deep dive. Huh?
Is it Ties That Bind?
Ties That Bind is what dealt with her origin, but there was or did she get the powers in that?
I'd have to look it up.
But yeah, she got
right now is doing this and shaking.
I think it was. I think that was the same episode. The Ties That Bind Us. I think she got the blood transfusion.
The blood transfusion, yeah.
And I know we didn't deep dive into the Mike Young. The Mike Young origin is very similar to the Filmation. And besides the fact that they were going to reveal Fisto as her father, but that never actually happened. So it's one of those things like, to me, it's still unofficial, even though that's the creators have said that's where they were going. But even then, still, we never got to see her embrace her destiny. After Tale of Tila, I don't even think they really bring it up in the mini comics, if memory serves me. After Tila's quest of Filmation, we do have Tila's triumph, where she had to kind of sit in for the sorcerers for a bit. Like, there are hints and stuff. But judging from that trailer, we are actually going to see her go full on sorceress. And I am excited for that. To finally, from 1983, Paul Dini, Tila's quest, he set all this up. And to finally get a payoff to it, that could be absolutely amazing. And I'm hoping it is.
Yeah, that was one of those moments too in the trailer. Like I got a little emotional with the He-Man moment, but yeah, it's like, now that I'm a dad, especially with a daughter, and that moment where Man at Arms does, I'm proud of you as a daughter, and now I need you to become something bigger, and something different, right, or whatever. And yeah, I mean, that was one of those, like, we're gonna see this. This is really cool, right. And it's like it's that promise that was made to us as kids, and here it is finally. I almost wish that was how they announced the show, right? Over just saying it's going to start off and be the next episode that you always wanted as a kid. It being it's like, why don't you just get into that aspect of it? And that would have been enough maybe for a lot of people to be like, "Ooh, we're going to get that finally," and right, because that was promised how long ago? Going on 40 years at this point.
Exactly, and that's what I'm excited for. In the trailer, we got to see, those 3 lines on her head again. She did a very, Grace or She-Ra, let your wounds be healed, and we got to see her going into a pool, which is how Teela, an origin of the sorceress, became our sorceress. And there's precedence. Teela took over for Kodak Ungol. Teela is theoretically going to take over for Teela. Like, this is something that since the 80s has been, they've been setting the groundwork for. Like,
yeah,
guys, I know we feel like we're preaching to a choir here, but guys, this is not destroying your childhood. It's just continuing. And to me, for any continuation, you have to advance the story. Now, I am hoping they don't just kill off the sorceress. We did not see the sorceress anywhere in the trailer, but Skeletor and Evil Lyn are fully in control of Grayskull. I think we're going to see something a la the 87 movie where they are holding her prisoner, which would be great. Either way, she's obviously incapacitated, and while we see from the trailer that they have the might of He-Man, we need the sorceress as well. And so that's going to be the next leg of Tila's journey. And I love it. That's exactly what the next leg of Tila's journey is. Now that she's come to terms with everything that's been kept from her, you know, she's in a place to move on. Adam's back. We can heal. Now it's time for her to embrace her destiny. And like I said, I've been waiting for this since you know, since I first watched that VHS at, 3-4 years old. Like, I've been waiting for this. So I'm really hoping that it pays off well. And I'm hoping they go unique with her too. I'm hoping she gets her own design. I will say I don't want to see the snake theme. I've always liked the idea of her being, the lineage of Zor, but I'd like to see kind of her own twist on the outfit. Unlike in Eternity War, where they went, Green Goddess / Snake Armor in reference to the old mini comics and everything. That was cool.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I won't be upset if that happens, but I personally, since we're doing Daughter of the Sorceress, I'd like to see her continue the legit Zor Sorceress line.
That only makes sense. It's like that's their totems. I mean, they're using the bat for the evil, and the bird is the falcon is for the good guys. So I'd be kind of, and also the sorceress Kodak Ungol was a bird as well. So it is that whole progression of that's just going to be your iconography going forward. I mean, I guess. For me, at least, I'm one of those people that I'm always the one preaching about. I want to see progression in something because out of most of the fandoms that still have something out there, like I can't say Silverhawks and some of those other ones, but like G.I. Joe was able to progress into different aspects, Transformers, all this. And I mean, we're getting a new Ghostbusters movie that's progressing things from the past, and it's like. It's been more than due that He-Man gets that chance and Masters of the Universe. And so, it might not be everybody's cup of tea, this version and this story, but for me, it's still exciting to go, hey, at least we're seeing something progressing things. And it's showing here's 5 years or whatever it is years later after, the first episode. And here's all the fallout, and they're dealing with that. Now Teela finally gets to ascend to a new role, and that's kind of life, you know. Like, I mean, you start out your life, you're kid, teenager, and then eventually you're a parent. If you want to be a parent, or if something happens that you become a parent, and the next thing you know, it's like you're wearing all these different hats, and to have somebody out there going, well, I don't want to see that. It's like, well, so you want things to be in amber? Okay, well, that kind of sucks because it's kind of fun that like Superman, Batman, all these other characters have had the chance to progress. I mean, Superman's a dad, Batman's a dad now, and all this, and it didn't ruin them. It just made him a little richer as a character.
I don't know.
And I think that will help with Teela.
Damian Wayne, I could leave him behind. That might have.
My kids think he's fun.
Really?
My kids like him just because of how much of it. They wish they were as smart as him to pull one over on me all the time, and it doesn't work. But that's, I think, what it is he's just that show-off, snot-nosed kid, That,
he is.
But,
let me throw this one out at you. So we got mini comic Teela, we got Filmation Teela, how it all rolls into Revelation Teela. How do you think all this will pertain to CGI Teela?
Well, I've already thought of this, and I'm not putting money on it because I'm not a betting man.
Well,
but
1 second before you go, just in case some viewers of ours haven't seen the CGI show yet. Or didn't. I think we covered it in our review, but that was a while ago. But so CGI Teela, what we know so far is that she is an orphan living on the streets. Man-Arms is no way related to her. Duncan is completely separate and about the same age. And she is a magic user, a hand witch. She uses her hands to do her magic, and she was taken in by Evil Lyn as her apprentice she has since left Evil Lynn and joined the good guys, but she was a thief and a magic user. And when they find Grayskull, she feels... It's hinted that she feels some sort of attachment, and the previous guardian of Grayskull, who they call Eldris in this series, seems to favor talking to her, and Eldris only appears in spirit form. So that's what we know. Now go ahead. I just wanted to, just in case some of our viewers aren't familiar with this version of Teela.
Well, I'm going to put my money on clone.
I am too. I really think they're going to go the clone route.
Oh, I was not thinking you were going to do that. That's awesome. Yeah,
I think it fits so much better story-wise in the CGI series.
Well, the main reason that I thought of it was they went back to the Tiger Tribe. And that was enough for me to go, they're going to some mini comic. Like, it's not a deep cut, but for those of you growing up on Filmation and you never read the mini comics, it's a deep cut because you didn't know that version. And I feel like they're willing to go to those like I said, you got Filmation going in this direction, mini comics went in that direction. And I feel like they're willing to take that chance on the mini comics in this version more often.
And we said that during our review. We said this feels like the mini comic origins updated for a modern audience, while sprinkling in some of the more popular Filmation stuff, King Randor, Prince Adam, you know. And for me, the big thing is we know Adam was younger, you know, with the whole Keldor took him to try and conquer Grayskull and take control, and stuff went down at Grayskull. Grayskull was left in ruins. Eldris went from a person to a spirit. I'm thinking Tila was created that night. Like that chaos that happened because of Keldor taking the mace and all that demolished Grayskull. I think they're going the same thing. I think it siphoned off power from Eldris, manifested in Tila, and now that's why Eldris is just a spirit and why she can communicate with Tila. Like, I think that's what I'm saying. That fits so much better than she was my daughter who was cast out as an orphan in this, especially with taking the Man-Arms character down to, you know, teen level with the rest of the cast, you know. And so basically, and like we found out, so after whatever happened at Grayskull, Keldor got sent to another dimension. Adam wound up in the jungle with the Tiger Tribe, and I'm thinking that part of Eldris wound up, you know, in the royal market or whatever as, you know, probably not an infant Tila, but probably a toddler Tila or what, you know, 8 years old, whatever, like a child Tila formed out of her energy that just like, who am I? Where am I? You know, and that's what I mean. Really thinking about it, the magical clone works so much better for what they've already established in this universe.
Yeah. And that is one of the few times where I'd say it doesn't bother me, though.
Right.
Because we're seeing enough, like, she gets injured and all that. So, like you said, if it's that night, it's like, okay, she knew she was dying.
Right.
So she had to make sure that the power lived on until Adam was ready to get the sword. That's kind of how I view it. Exactly. It's her choice to, I have to keep it going, but I can't do it in this body. So she finds a way to make another version of herself for our clone or a duplicate or whatever you want to call it, because they look too similar on top of that. And they do a good enough, like Evil Lynn looks like Evil Lynn, Crass looks like Crass, but Teela and Eldris both look identical. So it's a little hard for me to just call that a coincidence.
And they're voiced by the same voice actress.
Exactly. Yeah.
I forget her name at this point, but they are.
Again, what I like about that show is it will do some of that possibly, and it makes me go, I get to see a version of this that I always had in my head, but now I see it playing out in a new way, and it's not going to be chapter and verse everything we've known. That excites me on so many levels.
And the other key there is whether it is like Teela's created accidentally and like the explosion or whatever, or whether Eldris chooses to create Teela. Either way, it takes Skeletor out of the equation.
Yeah.
While he was there, he set into motion the events. He did not go there like, I'm going to create a bride and, or make a baby and take her as my wife. Like, it takes all that angle out. Whether it's like an accident, a byproduct, or a choice, either way, it separates that creepy vibe out of it. So that's good.
Agreed.
But yeah, and again, that's why I can't wait to see where this CGI show is going, because we have this open door. We have this place where they're referencing the past, but they don't have to follow it chapter and verse. They can take their own twist on it. And if you had come to me and said that, hey, Matt, you would... Shawn fell over.
What just happened? I fell over. Yeah, hang on.
Yeah,
sorry.
Hang on. He's got to pick himself.
My phone said, up. Screw this. There we go.
There it is.
All right.
He's back.
Brush myself off. Pick myself up. My bad. I made one little movement. Boy. Anyway.
What was I saying? But yeah, if you come to me a year ago and said, Matt, you're really gonna like a He-Man show that basically follows the mini comic kind of lineage, I would have been like, yeah, it might be good, but I don't think I'm really gonna love it. But it's caught me off guard how much I've enjoyed this CGI show. Like I can't get over how fun it is, and like I said, I hate spoilers, so I like not knowing it. I like that my kids ask me questions, and I'm like, well, it could be this, or this, but I legitimately do not know. And I'm going to keep coming back to that because I love that feeling. It makes me feel like a kid again. Because the first time I saw Teela's quest, I didn't know how that was going to end. First time I saw it, I probably didn't even know Sorceress was supposed to be her mother. You know what? Because it doesn't come up in a lot of episodes. And, I mean, you've got to learn that song. I don't remember watching it, not knowing. But there had to have been that reveal where, oh man, that is her mother? Like, wow, I didn't see that coming. Even kids like you that had gotten the toys, if they didn't get that mini comic, up until that point, there's no other reference that they could even be related. So, and that's what the CGI shows is doing for me right now. Like, I don't know. And that's great because I can speculate all this. And it's fun. But yeah, I completely agree. I'm hoping they do the clone origin in this one. And that's crazy of me to say that I'm hoping for that origin. But I think it'll fit so much better than if they made her the actual biological daughter or any of that.
Yeah, and it's another avenue to tell a story that we don't know. And hopefully that's what they do. But if they do something that we maybe don't even see coming, though, like we have Sorceress Mom, and then we have a possibility of a clone. What if they have, here's option C that we haven't even thought of, and it's like, all right, because my main thing again is let's tell some stories where we aren't guessing everything that happens. Because as much as I like 2000X, there's enough filmation sprinkled into that story where you still can tell this is where they're going to go with it eventually. And it is kind of fun to have a blank slate here. And yes, we are talking about it again, but I know there's been a few of our listeners who they're like, we had no idea you'd like this show so much. It's like, well, neither did we.
No, I had no idea that it was going to be it. I don't even know if it has a right to be as good as it is. Like I said, I still got to see how Revelation ends, because there are some good Skeletor moments so far in that trailer, but honestly, I think CGI Skeletor might be the best written Skeletor.
I agree fully.
He is coming up fast on the heels of Alan and Mark and everybody else. Brian, that's it.
Brian Dubson,
my mind blanked. That's where I was trying to go with that. So, it's fun. It's a fun time to be a Masters fan. There's so much out there. There's so much to choose from, and I'm loving it. So I can't wait to see what they do with Teela. just closing thought here, guys. Going back and rewatching Teela's quest and Tale and reading Tale of Teela, it surprised me. You know, you remember all this stuff, but actually going back, it surprised me how much of Tila and her personality and her story that we still see to this day was cemented pretty much right off the bat. I mean, you're talking second wave of mini comics, and you're talking first handful of episodes of Filmation. And those have pretty much stuck as here's Tila. Like for all the kind of 1981, early 1982, where they're like, what are we doing with this line? Then basically from 1983 to today, this is Tila. It just kind of shows how powerful those early story was, and I feel how much they got right in the characterization. And I highly recommend everybody go back and rewatch, reread. You know, it really takes some time to go back and revisit these classic stories because there has been so much over the years since then, both, you know, officially released. There's a ton of fan fiction out there, fan stories. There's stuff that we've made up in our own heads, you know. But if you really go back and revisit, there's a lot to love back there, and it really parallels a lot of what we're getting now.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So are we on to the next part of questions, comments, and geekdom?
I'm spent, so yeah, I think you take this for a little bit.
I'll shoulder it here. All right, so here is our questions, comments, and geekdom for the episode. First question, actually no, first comment. J Mac wrote in, and yeah, he asked. He
You're having a hard time with this today. You're spent too,
I'm
probably.
like, I am. It's like I feel like I've actually traveled a bunch because I went from like 1983 all the way to now back again. It's like the moving truck. Oh God, you know. I would love to hear your thoughts on the new Lords of Power figures. And for the listeners that might not know, there is a new toy company that started up called Formo Toys, and they are the team at Formo is Joshua Van Pelt, who is part of the Power and the Honor Foundation, and part of the Masters of the Universe community. There's Pierre Bronner, who is their lead 3D artist, and of all names, Emiliano Santalucia, who is their creative director.
Great.
And this this toy company, they've set off and done their own toy company now, and they are releasing a line of figures called Lords of Power that are, from the looks of it, they're slowly revealing them each day. Lords of Power, the beginning. And they are based more around the concept art of Mark Taylor, who is the concept artist that definitely spearheaded the Masters of the Universe toy line back in the 80s.
Yeah, they look. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I have not been able to watch. I know they released a video from the toy fair that they were at, and a lot of other stuff. I have not gotten a chance to dive deep into a lot of this. I have seen the initial pictures, and they look awesome. They look like, if you guys have definitely the Power and Honor Foundation book, and I think some of these concepts were shown in the Art of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe by Dark Horse as well. But yeah, basically they're taking these old Mark Taylor concept sketches and bringing them to life in toy form. Say vintage scale. Looks like vintage articulation, although I could be wrong. I had heard rumors that someone said that they were modular, actually. They are? Okay. So
they're modular for what those figures could be modular, but apparently even at the wrist guards I saw, you can take the hands off and the wrist bracers off and swap them with other characters, if I saw that correctly.
So a little bit more articulation and stuff like that, but they definitely look like they're designed to fit right in with your classic Masters of the Universe collection. Other than that, like I said, the designs look dead on to those original concepts. It's a very interesting thing they're doing. I am curious as to more information. I don't know if you know, Shawn, but number one, how they are using the Lords of Power name, and two, I mean, honestly, how they're using these designs. I'm curious for more information about it, but I also haven't taken the time to research it yet. But I will. But yeah, the designs look on point. I'm really curious to see when, how, and how much these are going to be.
Yeah, this one for me is like I said earlier, the deep cut stuff. This one to me is almost like we just found a box of toys that we didn't know we owned.
Right.
Like from our childhood.
Yeah, this is the deepest of the deep. Like.
Yeah. And like, I gotta be honest, I'm not collecting that scale and those, like I'm not going after vintage masters. I'm going after classics or, in the case of certain Masterverse ones and stuff. But these actually have me going, and that's a surprise for me because I'm much more into the more articulation. But I like that. I think the barbarian that's the He-Man character is Barbaro or something.
Oh, okay.
And I love that he's barefoot. Yeah. I don't know why, but that just amuses me. Here's this big guy, and he's got nothing on his feet, just the loincloth, and he's in a helmet, and he's ready to go to town. So,
absolutely.
And the one other thing that I noticed that I thought was really fun is the character that looks a little like Keldor. I don't know what his name is yet. If you look at the staff, that is 87 Skeletor movie staff.
Absolutely, it is.
And I was just completely blown away that they did that. So
it's really,
I don't have any answers to those questions that you had though about how they got that stuff. So that would be a good one to find out eventually. How did they get the ability to do it?
And honestly, J-Mac, that's why I didn't bring this up as a show topic, because I had not taken the time to like I said, research. I know they all have names. Like, this is something that we are going to take a deeper look into, just not today, but it's coming. But yeah, they look great, great designs, and I can't wait to see more of what they've got coming.
So then, thank you, J-Mac, for your question this time. And then we have Tony Capinter.
Welcome, Tony. I think that's I think it's the first time we've heard your name, Tony. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. He just joined not too long ago on the Facebook group, and he said thoughts on the CGI kid-friendly He-Man, which we have an entire episode dedicated
74,
to that one.
I think it was just last episode, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 74. Check it out. You'll love it.
Thoughts on the Masterverse Revelation Season 2 trailer.
Got that earlier in the episode. Hopefully you were paying attention. If not, please go back to the beginning of the episode and pay attention this time through. Thank you, Tony.
And your thoughts on the new Masterverse Revelation action figures. Thanks. Great job, guys.
Yeah, and I think we pretty much covered the latest wave that's coming in. Other than you can also check out our PowerCon or post PowerCon Palooza episode.
Yeah, that's true.
That was episode 73. We talked a lot about the up and comers there. Other than that, the only thing really since then I think is that Savage He-Man Orko 2-pack, which again, like I said, the Savage He-Man looked all right until I saw the trailer. And now I'm like, he is way too small because they just used the same buck for him. And I really wish they had gone the oversight. Like, seeing that trailer, Savage He-Man actually needs to be made using the Skelly God buck. Like, new arms and stuff. But basically that scale. Like, he needs to be that bigger scale. And so, actually, retroactively, I'm disappointed in the Savage He-Man. The Orko figure looks great, though. I really like that. I'm going to get the 2-pack anyways. Spoiler alert. So, but yeah, Orko figure looks great. I am hoping we also get a traditional Orko as well, because the one we're getting is the post end of the world Orko. So I hope they do release a traditional Orko like they've been doing with a lot of characters. But I like having that in that version in my collection because he had a lot of great moments in the story.
Agreed.
So he looks great. But I really hope they revisit that Savage He-Man at some point and give me the Hulk-sized He-Man.
Or we could do customs of Marvel Legends Hulk and just go to town on that. Oh,
actually, I really want to look at that Skelly God. Now the more I'm thinking about it, I really think Skelly God could make a good base for a Savage He-Man. That'll be interesting. Or we could use like a Bolthor the Tower or something like that.
Yeah, there you go.
That could work well. Decisions. But yeah, thanks Tony for chiming in. Check out those other episodes because we do have a lot of great talk about those topics.
Yeah, we took some time on that CGI one because we both were amazed that we enjoyed it as much as we did.
Absolutely.
Skelevator.
Skelly!
Welcome back again. Hey, dudes. So, what are your predictions regarding tie-ins between the Revelation prequel comics and Part 2?
I am not going to lie, Skelly. I have not read all of the issues of the prequel comic yet. I have them all. I just have not sat down and read them. Also, a reason we have not covered this on the show. Now, the interesting thing, though, that Yuka pointed out from the trailer is the what I initially thought were Skelcons in the trailer. They're actually a bit different, and they look more like Skeletor's race from issue 2 of that prequel comic. So it'll be interesting to see how they tie that in. Other than that, I believe we caught a glimpse of the Orlax when Man-at-Arms is imprisoned. So I'll be curious, again, if that actually factors in at all, or if it's just kind of a sight gag. Other than that, there really hasn't been too much in the issues that I've read that I can really see coming back very much. Shawn, I know you've read more than me, so go ahead if you've got something a little more concrete, but that's kind of what's been surprising to me, honestly, and we'll get into it deeper. We are going to discuss the comics in length, but that there doesn't seem to be a whole lot to throw back to in the actual Revelation series.
I would not be surprised. This whole series is about that circular storytelling, in my opinion, or the ring. Yeah. I guess it's the ring theory or whatever they call it. And I do think they're going to go back to. There's no way they would have had an entire issue dedicated to Skeletor's people if they weren't going to go there.
Right.
Which I still feel was such an odd issue anyway, because the middle of that mini series basically stops to tell 2 stories that you're sitting there going, I thought we were going to have like a Masters of the Universe tale, and instead we focus on the 2 major villains, both of which kind of, for me, and I think Matt might agree with me as well, is it kind of ground it to a halt of trying to tell a story, because I did read the 4th issue actually just this morning, and I'm sure that issue is going to have the most callback leading into the Part 2. But I also just feel like this story is something that they told, and it's to get the word out. The show is out there more than it's trying to tie in as much of this tale, because they didn't really tie a huge amount of it into the first part, except for showing the 2 halves of the power sword. Yeah, that was the whole first issue, pretty much.
And that they've already called back. So, is there something specific in issue 4 that you're not wanting to say because I haven't read it yet?
Oh, there is like one or two moments I can think of that. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything.
So here's what I'm going to do, because I want to answer Skelly Vader's question, but I hate spoilers. So I'm going to go off. You throw your predictions out now, and then I can re-listen. I'll be curious to re-listen to this after I read the issues and see if I agree with what you say. So just give me a thumbs up when you're done with your specific things that they're going to call back to. All right.
All right. Oh, I got the. So basically, I think. Obviously, we have the Teela getting the power moment, and you have that whole. You see the energy of Zor behind her and all that stuff. So that's going to obviously play out. The Orlax part, I'm curious from the trailer how that's going to work out. Skeletor's people, I think that's going to be part of it, because I think there is he's bringing people over in a portal or something. I'm curious if they do bring the Orlax into it, though. That's just me, and that's just there nodding his head. So this is a very awkward moment, and now I'm going to start talking about my lunch because I'm hungry. All right, so I'm going to give him the thumbs up. We're just going to move on from there.
I like how emotive you got with the hand gestures there. I really think you were messing with me for a lot of it.
Well, I will say, spoiler alert, I wanted to talk about the lunch menu at one point, just because I wanted it to last a little longer.
Sure.
Yeah. See what I was wondering what you were thinking with some of the hand gestures.
I was thinking, now he's messing with me, but I will be curious to go back and see after I read the fourth issue. But yeah, I'm like I said. Honestly, I hope it ties in a bit more, and because that has been one of the things, and we'll get deeper into it with our final comic review. Is that like Shawn, I really feel that this kind of feels disconnected from the series so far. Like I really wanted more of a strong lead in, like, oh, that's what led up to everything that happened. So I'm hoping I get that with issue 4. Do I need to go off off again?
You might want to. I just thought of one other thing that I forgot about.
All right, back to Shawn.
Real quick. So, one last thing for Skeletor is that last page. I'm really curious at what that is supposed to mean, because I can't think of who the heck that's supposed to be as a silhouette, and I'm really curious if that gets revealed in the show or not. There we go.
That's fine. It gave me a chance to grab a drink. I was getting parched.
There you go.
All right. So Shawn's good now. Thank you, Skelly Baby, for the awesome question. I'm sorry that I am not up to date like I should be. I've been slacking. So
Jacob Hicks, he wrote in again. I think he wrote in on the last episode, if I remember right. What do you think about... Yeah, welcome back. What do you think about the online exclusive guard being in Big Lots?
Well, the more the merrier to me. I mean, Palace Guard is one that people are obviously going to want the army build. I guess it really doesn't bother me because, if I recall correctly, it was supposed to be a retailer exclusive, I believe is how it was touted. And we'd already seen both Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth got it already. So, to me, Big Lots is just kind of another retailer. And if I recall, actually, it's more expensive at Big Lots than it was at either of the other two places. So it's not even like you're actually getting a deal if you got in on the Big Bad pre-order. Let me verify that. Just because I don't want to be loud and wrong here. But yeah, so it really, if it had been like this is a Big Bad Toy Store exclusive, it might have bothered me more, but I don't believe that's how it was ever really stated. You, Shawn?
When I hear Big Lots, I think of classics, and then I start hearing people getting frustrated over that. I did not know about this personally because I haven't been keeping my ear to the ground on a lot of this stuff as much as I used to. I do feel, I guess I see it from both sides. I'll be the fence rider here. I see it from if I was trying to get that exclusive and I couldn't get it, and then all of a sudden it shows up at Big Lots, there would be a part of me going, what the heck, but then the collector side of me would go, hey, it's a Big Lots. That's awesome. At least I can get one then if I wanted one and I couldn't get it online.
Well, I guess here's my thing. And real quick, I was wrong. It is $19.99 at Big Bad Toy Store and $20 at Big Lots. So number one, same price. Number two, I can add it to my cart at Big Bad Toy Store right now. Like, this did not sell out at Big Bad Toy Store. So I guess to me, kind of what Shawn said there, it's not like same thing. If it had been online exclusive that sold out, I couldn't get it, and now it's showing up at select Big Lots, I'd be ticked. But that's not the case with this. You can still go to Big Bad Toy Store and pre-order it, or you can find it in select Big Lots, Whereas like with the classics, number one, when they hit Big Lots, they were at a discount. I think they were only like $10 or something. I mean, they were stupid cheap. But these are figures that had sold out from the website. I could not order them from the website. They did not show up at my Big Lots, but some people got them at Big Lots and were able to pick them up at a discounted rate. And I think that bothers me. Like, if you still had them, they should have been online first. Why'd they go sold out if you had all of these? But that's not the case here with the Palace Guard. He is very much still available at Big Bad Toy Store. He's the same price at Big Lots. I guess the only thing is that, from what I hear, the people who pre-ordered have not gotten him yet, while he has shipped, obviously, and is available in Big Lots. Oh yeah, but actually, I wonder if Big Bad Toy Store changed their price, because Entertainment Earth is $16.99, and I thought that's what Big Bad Toy Store was. And I know Big Bad Toy Store has a history of that. Like, they will raise their prices if they see the market moving. So I wonder if Big Bad Toy Store raised theirs because, Big Lots has them for $20. But here, Entertainment Earth, I can add them to my cart at Entertainment Earth right now. So I guess about the only thing I can say that ticks me off about it is the fact that those people who pre-ordered should be receiving them now, and from what I hear, they're not. So that's about the only thing negative I can say. Other than that, it's the same price or more expensive, and they're still readily available for online, or if you can find in your Big Lots. So, it's not. It doesn't bother me like the whole Classics fiasco from years ago. And if I saw one in Big Lots, I'd probably pick it up. I'm not going to lie.
So thank you, Jacob, for that. And then my cousin Alan Myers wrote in, which this is his first time writing, and that's pretty cool.
Welcome, Alan. Hopefully you're okay with Shawn outing you as related to him.
He's a geek just like me. I think out of most of his family, he probably is like, I'm good with Shawn.
Nice.
Because he literally like almost every night I'll get a text from him with some kind of geekdom thing that he found online, and then we'll talk about it and stuff.
Nice.
So he wrote in and asked, do you think that the story spoilers for the Revelation trailer was done because of part one's unfortunate negativity from smaller groups of people, and that the team was trying to show there is some good they hope people will like in part two? Trailer looks good. Not a fan of so much story being revealed, just like bits and pieces to be shown, which we kind of talked about that already as well.
Alan, were you even paying attention, buddy? Like, we just went over that, man. Now I know you're related to Shawn, so you might be. You'll get a pass this time, but pay attention a little bit more. But yes, Alan. In all seriousness, 100%, 1,000%, yes. Yes to everything. It was completely reactionary. It was to try and shut people up who don't know when to keep their mouths shut or when to speculate, and it 100%. And yes, the trailer looks awesome. I too wish they had shown me a little less.
And for me, being someone who I usually don't worry about spoilers, even I was a little shocked by that one.
Yeah, see?
So that says something. I mean, it made me actually more excited to see. I can't wait to see it fleshed out in 5 episodes.
Right.
But it did make me go, wow, like we're seeing everything. This is nuts. So that's
Absolutely.
why if you're listening, Netflix, but if you're listening, you don't need a second trailer. Just drop the 5. Drop it right now.
You can drop it right now.
Yeah. I'd be thrilled to watch it about now.
Do it now.
After I pick up my kids from school. But yeah.
No, kids got to walk home.
They need to learn direction.
Exactly.
So thank you, Alan, for that one. And then always, we need to get this guy something because he always does it. Jason Torrance. He's always willing to chime in every episode, and it blows my mind.
All right. Hey, Shawn demanded it. Jason Torrance, send me your address. You can email logpod85@gmail.com, or you can messenger me or Shawn or the Legends of Grayskull podcast Facebook page. Drop me your address. We'll get something on your way because Shawn demanded it, and he gets what he wants.
Well, hey, I want a pony.
Too late. You used yours up for the day.
I did. I used my one time of the day, and I used it for someone else. I'm still a real boy. That's okay.
What would he?
All right, do? Jason. What would he? Yeah, that's very true. That was fun last week. Anyway, Jason Torrance. Looking forward to your breakdown of the trailer for part 2. Did that, which I'm assuming you will have done by the time you are reading this. Very wise man.
Jason's getting it.
He gets us. He
gets us. He's like, I'm not having Matt smart off to me.
So here we go. My question is on the Revelation comic. Matt, step away. No. Now that it's complete, would you like to see more comics based on the Revelation show? Though it was not as good as Eternity War, I thought the Revelation prequel was really well done. Also, which medium do you think Motu works best in? Cartoon, live action, or graphic novel? Keep up the great work. I enjoy the pod.
I want to see more comics, always. I want to see something true prequel, where it is before the events of Revelation, but not tied into the events of Revelation. So, just some good old adventures. Classic era that we saw sprinkled throughout the show. You know, like Teela and He-Man were versus Whiplash at top of Snake Mountain. You know, them on the, in the Crystal Sea fighting Merman. That vintage stuff. That's what I would love to see from a Revelation comic. Just go back and just tell me stories from the in-between. From the end of the vintage era to before this current prequel comic. Like just some good old He-Man, Tila, Man-at-Arms Orko action versus, Triclops, Trapjaw, Skeletor, Evil. That's, and try and sprinkle in, Blast Attack. You could throw Stinkor in there, beforehand. Stuff like that. Stuff we didn't get to see. Rotar, Twistoid. But keep it in that classic era. I love the story progressing, but they're doing that. And I feel like at the end of these 10 episodes, it's going to be done. Or at least a good ending point. And so I would really love to see a comic series based kind of in that interim, introducing some later of the toys or exploring some concepts that weren't explored in the vintage era. You, Shawn, what would you like to see from Revelation Comics?
That's a hard question I agree. I would love to see the progression between here's where the universe almost ended until we pick up in episode 2 to see the decline of things. and see how Triclops taking over Snake Mountain.
Yeah,
the Triclops Jaw on his
evil
side
and Beast Man fight.
That's more my speed, because I honestly, if they did anything previous to what they started in episode 1 of Revelation, I'd actually rather see it in animated form.
Sure.
Because I feel like that, I don't feel it's owed to us, but I just feel like I would be more receptive to it in animated form than a comic where it's just, shedding the light on some of that stuff. Because to me, I'd rather see it the way that it's intended, which is on a cartoon at this point.
So I guess is that your answer for the second question as well, then?
No. I'll get into that then. But
okay.
But I feel like part of why Revelation might not have landed properly is the fact that this story feels like it still had its own continuity, and that would have helped people to not feel the way they feel about it at times. And so in that way, it's like, I would have loved if there was 5 episodes leading into Revelation to address that, and then have Revelation hit after that, and all that. But that's just my personal take. And then which medium works best? I'll let you go first.
No, I went first last time. It's your turn.
Oh, all right. Here's the thing. I would have to say it depends on what story you're trying to tell, I think. And I hate that I do that, but it's like cartoon, I think, is the most digestible, because a lot of the stuff that's happening in Eternia, I feel like it only works in animation because the amount of stuff that has to happen live action for that is probably going to make it such an astronomical price on that movie or live action, whatever way you want to word it. So if you were telling more stories like CGI, for instance, the CGI show, I would rather sit through animated versions of that and just enjoy it that way and see the spectacle of it. But if they were going into deep cuts, graphic novels would be cool.
Yeah.
Because that you could take time telling that story instead of it being a 20-minute episode,
You pretty much took the words out of my mouth. I was going to fence ride as well, because I think overall, if I have to choose one, give me the cartoon all day. Give me animated, whatever that may be. Honestly, like I've said before, I think even for a movie, it needs to go CGI. It can be realistic CGI, but it needs to go CGI. That's just the best way. But yeah, for me, animated by default is my go-to. It is the most easily digestible, consumable. Everyone can get behind it. And it is kind of the de facto for He-Man. But like a story like Eternity War in comic form, like that allows you to get in comics. I love how they allow you to get into the heads of people a lot better. I mean, you can literally break some stuff down that doesn't always come across as well in animated form. So yeah, if you're going for a deeper storyline, like a more adult storyline, or even if you wanted to explore like Elseworld stuff, I want to see that in a comic series. But yeah, if you're just going like default for He-Man, animated every time.
Yeah, I'd say out of all of those, live action to me is the most prickly out of all of them, because I think
that's gonna be so tough to get right. You've got to make so many compromises, and I don't see the benefit to it anymore. I know there used to be a time where it's like, well, we have to get the live action to get the mainstream audience. But I think Avatar and other movies have proven like you can go. There is a way to go computer animated and still get the mainstream audience. So it's progressed enough to where it's like, why not just do that? Then you're just looking at voice actors, and you're able to actually go full fantasy, and there's no reason to go back to either split animation and live action or what, what I mean? There's no reason to, especially in a world as fantastical, out of proportion as Eternia.
Well, the other thing too, and at least from my perspective, is if you go live action, there are so many people in so many groups. You're gonna see them; they're all out there. Where you're gonna get everybody's fan casting, and 9 out of 10 times you're gonna see a lot of people with bodybuilders for He-Man, and I'm tired of it.
It's like, but it's got to be right. I mean, to be He-Man, you have to be a bodybuilder. Like, and that's the problem. You're limiting yourself. You're, I mean, that's why I hate even when people ask to do that fan cast. I'm like, I don't know, because like I don't know the bodybuilders, and there's only a few actors I can think of that have the physical form to fit into this world without making compromises as to the looks and personality of these characters. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, how do you do that when you have CGI that can do it all perfectly? Why bother?
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, have you seen? You're really busy lately, so I'm sure you probably haven't. But have you seen the movie Free Guy?
I've watched
with Ryan Reynolds.
I've watched like half of it. I fell asleep while my family was watching it. But
okay,
what I saw, I really liked. I gotta finish that. I'll finish that today.
Well, there is a part in the second half that makes me go, I think we're at an age where we might be able to pull it off to make a bodybuilder work as He-Man, but you still have the person who's Adam showing through. But at the same time, I also think it's going to be a pain in the ass to film it then.
Yeah.
Which that's part of the problem, in my opinion, is, again, you're talking about prices. You're talking about the budgets and stuff. And if I remember right, people were throwing out budget ideas of what it might actually cost. And they were saying it would be over $200 million to make a Masters movie, with doing it within trying to make Eternia look like Eternia, trying to do all this stuff. And it's like, there's a part of me that wouldn't mind seeing it, but I almost don't want to know about it, and they just put it out. Yeah. And then if I sit there and watch it, I'll just be like, okay. And then if I don't like parts, at least I don't have a trailer 6 months ahead of time that makes everybody lose their freaking minds. That's, I think, where I would stand on it.
No, I completely agree. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, yes, there is a chance they could get it right, and it could be epic and amazing, and it would blow my mind, and that would be awesome. But what are the odds of that happening? And how much work is it to get there? And is it worth it? That's the key to me. Is it worth it? To me, just put out. I mean, even Turtles have realized, like, hey, let's just go CGI. Like, it makes so much more sense. Now, the Jim Henson stuff back in '90, that was amazing, and it was perfect for the time. But nowadays, it's like, no, it's not even worth that hassle anymore. Like, we can do so much more easier with this, and I'm all for it.
Yeah. Well, one other little point I want to make, and then I'll shut up, because I thought of two sides of the coin though. Justice League or Man of Steel or something like that, where you have a character like Superman, who is in my opinion, it works as like a He-Man stand-in for what I'm talking about. You see a live action actor doing some of the heroic stuff that he does, it loses its impact. Like when you see him punching out Steppenwolf, and I don't care which version of Justice League you're watching, the theatrical or the Snyder cut, it still looks really awkward.
Yeah.
It doesn't look quite that way. Now, on the other side of the coin, last night my kids and I were watching the Jumanji The Next Level movie.
Yeah.
And in that one, anytime The Rock punches somebody, it looks like there was no special effects. He looks like he legitimately punched them off the planet.
Right.
So you have that, you have movies who can pull it off, and then you have ones where it's like, this should look good. Oh my God, Superman, it looks like he's flailing his arms around.
Yeah.
But there's no impact to the punch, and so that's one of those things where I'm like, live action doesn't pull it off. But if you watch that CGI one, he's doing some stuff on there where it's like,
that's what I'm saying.
Heft to it. So
it's the flip of a coin, and for me,
exactly,
go the road that has the greater chance of giving me a good movie. That's at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Yep, agreed.
All right, was that it?
That is it. Those were our questions for the week.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate you all chiming in week after week. It's been a blast. And Shawn, take us into the weekend.
Oh, all right. So closing out episode 75. 3/4 of the way to 100 years of doing this. I can't help it. That amused the heck out of me. So if you want to join in on the conversation, feel free to join our Facebook group, Legends of Grayskull Podcast. We love to geek out there, and we love to have the fans and also members of the community throwing in all the geekdom on that page and getting involved, which is really awesome. You can reach out to us on Facebook, reach out to us on Gmail, logpod85@gmail.com with questions and comments and the like. We are on Twitter. I have not updated it for a little while. So we are on Twitter, Legends of Grayskull Podcast on there, logpod85 as well. And we have been lax in this, and that's part of my problem because I do the outros, but we are also on Patreon. And Matt and I would like to send a message. Thank you to our first Patreon subscriber.
Yes. Jennifer Sykes, thank you very much. And that is actually quite amazing because we have not promoted that at all. So it's very wonderful of you to find us out there and throw us a bone. And yeah, if anyone else would like to join up, just head on over to Patreon, search up Legends of Grayskull Podcast. I'm not going to lie, there's not much content on there now. I think we've got one bonus episode. But it is something that we are getting back to. It was something we kind of set up, but then other things took precedence. We wanted to make sure the main show was going perfectly first. So, but we are going to get back on it. There's going to be bonus content for you guys. There's, depending on your level of pledge, you can get cool stuff. You will have early access to these episodes. So Jennifer, you will be hearing this at least 24 hours before anybody else. And there's going to be extra opportunities in there. Check it out. It's all listed on there. And anything you guys send to us is going to go right back into the podcast, whether it be upgrading equipment or searching up cool prizes to give away. You'll be entered into exclusive raffles and giveaways just for being a Patreon member, or it may even result in an extra entry for stuff we do here. We got a big thing coming up for 1,000 subscribers very, very soon, judging by how our numbers keep growing. So jump on in. Little as $1 a month, you'll get some cool bonus content. So we appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you. And I think I figured out my phrase that pays before we leave. Oh, yeah. Legion's Con.
Phrase that pays. Legion's Con. See Shawn. Tell him this sentence and you'll get something available nowhere else.
All right. For Legion's Con, if you see me and say, dad bods are not allowed in Noble Bear, that's your phrase that pays. Because Lord knows I'm going to be walking around with a dad bod that whole convention, and it is what it is.
I love it.
So anyway, from both of us, thank you very much for listening, and until next time.
Until next time, someone buy me a Sir Gerard figure, please. Thank you.
Oh, come on. Rock! Oh, bear. Oh.